All right, we are starting to make real progress. We've done two functions so far. We've done the create function and we've done the delete function. So right now I just want to run through the read function and the find function very quickly. So we don't have to take too much time. User account number. Okay. So to read is quite easy. I think we already have something very similar. We just open the file like we do here, but then the parameter we pass along with that will now be the read parameter, which is the R parameter. So we have user account number. I think this is not consistent. I have account number here, but user account number somewhere else. So let me do that. Okay, let me present so it's bigger this time. Right, let's go back to our read function. This is too much space. So let's go back to our read function. We are trying to open the file from this place and we are saying we want to read the content. And the next thing we need to do is to use this and say read. So because our file would always have just one line of text, we just say read line because we just want the first line so that it doesn't, we don't need to waste time trying to read multiple lines. So in fact, let's see what this returns once we do a read line for the file that we find here. I'm going to take this out and then go out of my presentation mode and just run that code. So let's run read on which of these files. Let's run read on 3372291257. So I'll save that, open my terminal, clear this, and then run that code, and I see my user data is being read correctly. I'll comment this out and try to read the other file 7869315239. So this is kind of easy and straightforward. I run that again and I get the second one. The difference is that this is password 0 and balance is 200, and the difference is there, so you can see it's loading two different files. So I guess this is quite easy. Maybe a little too easy. I didn't know it was going to be that easy. So let's just have a try here. So in case this file could not be found, then we throw out the proper error. So let's do a try. And say except no, not exception, that would be except file not found. So either of the two will be fine. So I'll do this and say print user not found. Okay, and then I'll do the other one, which is file doesn't exist. I don't know why I would do both, but nothing wrong in capturing more excessive error issues. So user doesn't exist. Okay, otherwise just return the content of that file. I think I should just put this inside finally. So just put this inside finally so it does that. Okay, so either of these things get thrown out and we are fine with reading files. So that is that about that. Now let's go ahead and try to find a specific user in this database. Now we are just basically reading the user that we already know, the person's account number. So now we want to find user based on the account number. The difference between this function here and this function is, I think the error I have here is the fact that actually I'm trying to think if there's a difference right now, because the purpose of this find is to, okay, so maybe we have to change what the find is for. So find will be used for searching for specific parameters like email, like I mean just email for now, so I think it's just email for right now. So we go through so what we need to do is to go through this entire record, open every file inside this folder, check if the account number exists. If it does, open it up using the read function, and then check if the email that we are sending to the find function already exists. All right, so let me just type out what I'm trying to say. So we are going to be sending two parameters, account number and then email, because the purpose of this method, actually let's change this. Does email exist? So this is just going to be checking if this email we are trying to use to create a new user already exists in the system. So let's save that. I'll take this out and obviously change this to, so right now I don't think I have a purpose for the find. There's a typo here. I don't think I have a purpose for the find, for the actual find method. I don't know under what circumstance I will need to use that. Yeah, I can't have duplicate account number because I'm using a fairly large range of numbers to generate random numbers. And even if I have a large duplicate, I just need to check if there is a content inside. Oh, by the way, I think we can do this now, but let me complete the does email exist method first. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be looping through every file inside this folder. So let's just open it up. I'll do, so OS list directory will list everything inside the user DB folder. Remember we have this saved up there, so this should list everything we have there. Let's try this first. I'm not entirely sure. So let me run does user exist. I need account number. Oh, I just deleted what I needed. Okay, so does user exist? Copy this, and then I'm going to pass the email. Let's, for now, let's just say sheyi@zuri.sim and save that. Then open my terminal and run this code, and yeah, it actually lists everything in there. It does. So I need to save that. I need to save that in a variable. So I'll call I'll say all users. So this is every user in my database right now. This is not properly indented. Now I need to loop through all users and read the content of the file of all users. So this is what that means. So I'm going to do a for user in all users, read. I don't think I need to do read here. Okay, let's just print that out first. Right, so I'm printing it out. I'll say print user, let's just say user printed, so I can actually know that I'm printing multiple. Then I'll have a print next line here. Hopefully that works. So let's save this, run the code again. I'm listing everything in here and then I'm printing it out. So let's try that again. Yeah, it actually printed them out individually, so that's good. So what we need to do is to read the content of each of these files. Now I have each of the files. I can then do a read. The only problem is my read method here is already attaching .txt and already going here to do that, and what I'm returning here is actually a, as you can see, it is already a .txt file. So let's see how we can optimize this particular code to be able to read the file. Either I supply this type or I supply what already has .txt. One thing I can think of doing is check if I think I can check if this is a number, then do this. If it is not a number, then else. Okay, I hope I can have if statement in here. So if user account number. Okay, so I have a validation method. All right, let's see if that will work. Let's import our validation, and then I'll use it here and say for this guy, if is valid account number. So I'll do validation dot account number, and then put my account number in there. Okay, no, that should be user account number. So if this is a valid account number, then I'm going to do this, right? This makes sense. Otherwise, I'm going to take this out and try to do this. Okay, right. So if I'm sending a valid number, which means the number is an integer, it means I will need to do this, which means I need to convert it to a string, attach the .txt to it, and so on and so forth. If I am sending a string, it means this will return false, and then I can just go ahead and do this. But there might still be a little problem here, because now I'm checking for two things specifically. I'm checking for if I'm sending a string or an integer. I'm not checking for if I'm sending anything else, like a list or any other thing like that. And if I send a list to this method now, I expect a very different error from all that I've captured here. So let's just try that. Let's send a list to read. So I'm going to comment this out and open my read here and send a list to read, or a dictionary or whatever. So send the list first. Send one, just any random list. 2. So I'll save that and run my code. Let's clear this. So run my code. Okay, I get, what do I get? Type error. So let's capture type error under read. That is here. So except type error, print invalid account number format. All right, so let's try that again. Right, there's a problem here. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to read even if this fails. So that's going to be a problem, because this file didn't open and I'm trying to read it. So I don't need this finally here. I don't really need this finally here. I only need to run this when this opens up. So let's move this to else. Okay, sorry, else is supposed to be after the exceptions, which means I didn't find any error. So else do this. So if I didn't find any error, if none of these exceptions were thrown, then I can just read the file and send it back to the user. All right, so we've been able to make this a little more robust, and now we are capturing 3 different types of error, and we are checking if it's a string or an integer. Those 2 things are allowed. If it is not a string, not an integer, maybe you're sending a list, or let's try a dictionary now and see the error we get. I think it should be the same thing, type error. So I'm going to try a dictionary. Of course, that should be like this. Okay, so dictionary, let's run the code, clear this. Okay, that's not how to spell clear. Let's clear this and run the code again. So again, that has been undone now. Account number cannot be less or if. So yeah, I mean, this is from validation that the validation module that we created earlier. Now that is this one. So this particular information came from there, and I have no idea why it is telling me account number cannot be. So let's capture it. Okay, we have a type error here too, though. You have a type error here, and I wonder why it's telling me account number cannot be less than or equal to 10 digits. I have no idea. But anyway, we got that error, and oh right, so it failed here just from onset. Alright, so that's fine. It actually makes sense. It's okay. Validation works, and we are not able to open the file, and everything is okay. Now I now know why I get none here, because I'm really not returning anything. I think so. Right, so moving on, we've been able to do that. Let's now use what we just did here. So what we want to do is to use that method read to read the user data. So I expect this. Let's see what my read is returning. My read is returning the content. So I can print out whatever my user data is. So I should get multiple user data. So I'm going to just do a next line here. Now am I getting this error? Unexpected indentation. Why? I hope that's the problem. Okay, that is the problem. Alright, so let's run this again. I'll clear this and run my code again. Actually, I should be running this, not the other way around. And in which case I don't need to, well, I still need to pass this along, because we are trying to check if this account number exists. So yeah, I still need to pass that along. Alright, so let's run this code again, and I get account number cannot be less than, well, that's still the validation issue, but it prints out what we expect it to print out. So it's actually reading the content of each of the user data, as you can see, and then it's printing them out. I am still not entirely sure why this is saying account number cannot be. All right, let's go back here to our validation and just before we check for the length, we need to do one or two other checks. And in fact, I think I should check for the length after I have done this here. So let's come in here. I'm going to move this in here so I don't keep getting that error. I'm going to move this here so that it only comes after I have checked for the data type, which means I need to move this right here, and then I need to move you up just a little bit, and also I need to move this up and move everything back one step, up one more. Yeah, that fixed it. Right, so we are checking for data type first before we check for the length. So let me run that code one more time. I really like not to see that account number issue anymore, because I don't expect to see it at this point. So I'm running the code again, and I still get invalid account number. Account number should be an integer. So I guess I might not need to print this out anymore. Print out this error message. If I comment all of this error message out and just use this to check, then I will not get that error, obviously. So I don't get that error anymore, because now I'm using this for multiple purposes, so I don't get that error anymore. I might have to modify my I think, yeah, this should be for my login. I might have to modify my login just a little bit. So let's go back and just modify my login. I hope this is not becoming too complex, but I think I'm still going gradually. So I'm going to modify my login now. When I check for this and it fails, I'm going to print out an error message here. It's not going to be a very intuitive error message, or is that the right word? I think so. Like, it's not going to be specific. Yeah, specific is better. It's just going to say account number invalid. So we are not telling them specific. We are going to tell them it's invalid. check that, I mean we can add more details. Check that you have up to 10 digits and only integers. Yeah, I guess this is okay. So if I try to log in now and this validation returns false because let's check it again. So I think this is also too much of else, false, else. So I'm going to also optimize this a little bit and take this else out. I don't really need it at this point because I want to just, okay, so I guess I could leave this here. So I mean what I'm trying to do is, if I make it out of this particular if statement, then I should just return false, because the only reason why I will return true is if I make it in here. So if I don't make it in here, then I will always come back out here and return false. So I don't know if I need to capture all of this too, because I'm not trying to give out specific error message anymore. I'm just doing a check if the account number is valid. So let me tell you what I'm doing here. I'm checking if the account number is supplied. I'm checking if the data type is accurate, and then but now that I'm not catching that particular issue, it might just throw out some random error, which I do not want to happen. So I'm going to uncomment this back. I mean undelete, if that's a word. Yeah, let's not go back and complicate things for ourselves. I'm going to leave it this way. This works, it's fine. Let's move on. So coming back here now, so for users in this, I'm reading the files and I'm able to throw out that file. If I run that code one more time, I'm throwing out the content of each of those files, which is what I want. Now the only issue I have right now is this is a string, it's a string because I had to convert it to a string to save it into a file. So now it is returning as a string. I need to find a way to convert this string to like something that I can loop over, and then I can now check. So I think I'll make a little modification for my sign up. Okay, let's present. I think I'll be doing much coding now. So I'm going to look for my register method, and rather than making this this way, I'll cut that out and say user detail prepared user details to be equal to string concatenation of all of this. So I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this. It's easier for me to convert a string to, a string that has a regular format, to convert that to a list, and so I can now loop over that list and use that to check if that email already exists. So no, I don't need you there, I need you here. I'm going to show you what I'm trying to achieve very soon. Yeah, that should be here, plus a comma, and finally delete that and delete this. I don't actually need that there. Okay, so there might be a little problem here, because this should be a string. I don't know if I can do that. I'm just trying to avoid any errors. Alright, so this is what I'm going to be saving in my database, prepared user details. And then so once I get back to that file, let's leave presentation mode. So once I get back to that file, I just edited this. So once I get back to my database file, and I'm fetching all the users, so I have to delete all my current users and create a new user. So let's just delete all of this and then create a new user. How do I do that? Okay, so I'll run my normal application. I'll say Python. I'll say Python.py. Do you have an account with us? No, I don't. I'll say my email address is sheyi@storage.sim, although this is incorrect. What is my first name, my last name, my password? Yeah, and that is created. So I would restart the application. I'll clear this so that I can create a new user. So let's run that again. Create a new user. Wait, did that create? Yes, it did. So let's check it. I think it should be accurate. Yeah, it's what we exactly want, which is good. So let's create a new user. The new user will be Mike at Zuri.sim. First name is Mike, Alola is last name, and Mike is the password. And then account created, and that file should be here now. So that's good. We have 2 users now. So let's go back and run this particular thing and see what we get printed out, and then it should be easier for us to convert that into a loop, and we can then loop through it and check if it exists or not. Right, so let's run Python database.py, and I get this printed out, which is good. This is what we wanted. So for each of these guys, I'm going to say, so I'm not entirely sure. I think it's split. Yes, it's split. So user, let's try and see if we can split these using the comma. I hope this is correct. Anyway, let's print it out and see. Let's see what we have there. Database. That's not what I want. I need to read. Oh, sorry about that. I need to read the content of user first. So read the content of user, and then split the content of user, each of those user files into. Yes, this is exactly what I want. Now it is no longer a string. We had to do all of that because initially it was a string. Now it is no longer a string, and then we can loop through it to find out if so here's what we can do. We can say user list, and then say for user for email in user list, if actually, do I need to do? No, I don't. I just need to say, I don't need to loop through it. I need to say if email, which is this email I have here, in user list, then I should say return true. That means I found, that means user exists. So the question is, does email exist? So I will say true. Otherwise, if I'm able to get out of this loop without finding the user, I'm going to say return false. Okay, so it looks compact and it should work too. So let's run this for this particular user we have here. I'll save it, and I think I have to print out the results because it's just returning true or false. So let's clear this, run it, run the code, database, and the user exists. Does it truly exist? It doesn't, so that's a problem. I don't have this user right now. Oh, I have this email though. Right, that's okay. I should have checked for database account number. So I have this email, I think. Yes, I do. So if I use an email that I do not have, say something like this, I believe that should be false now. Yes, now it is false. So this works. I just need to check for account number too. So we're not just checking for email, but actually I'm just trying to check for email in this sense. So this works. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to also take out account number. I don't need to check for account number. I mean, we can use that same method to check if account number exists. So we can say does account number exist? You know, just the same method, account number and then I'm going to copy all of this. So now I'm not going to be checking for any of this, you know, because I don't need to read the content. I just need to check the name of the file. So I'll say if user, which is the now this user is going to be a .txt file. So if user is equal to the account number, which I'm going to have to convert to a string, and then concatenate that to a .txt. So if this exists, then return true. That means yes, this account number is already in use. Yeah, there's no need for space there. And why do I have this here? Indentation is not a multiple of 4, and I need to have space here, and I believe the issue here is indentation too. Yep, that's been fixed. So this method is checking one more space here. Check this function, sorry, is checking if account number already exists, which we can now use when we try to create a new user here. That's okay, I mean create a new user here. So I mean you see this is moving on fine. I am trying, I mean I'm explaining my thought process and just showing you how I'm making modification to the entire system, how I had to change a few things just to make sure everything works. So let's test this particular method now. This doesn't exist, obviously. So again, just forgive me for using method rather than function. Method and functions are not entirely the same thing in Python. So, but forgive me, I'm really used to saying method because of other languages. So let's run this. And false, because that indeed the account number does not exist. Let's use an account number that can be found: 3196779369. So save that, run the code, and I expect to get true. So this is good. We've been able to check if account number exists. We've been able to check if mail exists, and now we can go back to, we've been able to delete file. In fact, let's move all this up here. So it's at the top. Since I've been making this available, you would be able to reference them. So let's go back up here, and okay, I need to also move this up right here, and modify our create file, our create function. So what are we going to be modifying? First, we need to check if, before we do anything, let's just check if this account number that was generated from the registration page, remember we are generating the account number from here, which is this. So by whatever coincidence, if the this function generates duplicate account number, then we are going to catch that error here. So if that happens, then we try again. So let's come here and just do, okay, I wanted to do a check here. So does account, you know, I don't really need to do this. I can just say if account exists. You know, I don't really need to assign it to a variable. I can just call the method here directly. So if this returns true, that means I need to go back. So I need to return false here. So I don't really need to do anything. So once I return false here, my registration method here would have it saying that something went wrong, then try again later. So once I try again, it generates a new account number, and then we can see if that one exists. If it doesn't, then we can proceed to doing all of this. So another thing I want to check for is the email. So after checking for if the account number already exists, I can also do the email right here. If email exists, and just get the user details, because they are sending, okay, so this might be a little bit of problem because what I'm sending is a string, and I don't want to have to break it down before I do all of this. So I guess what I can do is to send each of these things individually to that particular function. So send each of these things individually this way. Okay, hold on, I'm going to copy this and use it here. So let's just put it here, so I have it here. I'll come back to it because I will need it here. But for here, I'm going to send them individually. I'll send my first name first. I'll send last name. I'll send email. I'll send password, and then I'll send. I don't need to send this because I'll be doing it over there, so I can delete it from here. Right, so when I get here, now I can say, does email exist? Because now I'm sending email, so this is going to now be also going to be first name. I think you get the idea now. And then I can now use this to say user data to be saved to be equal to this. So this is the prepared data I'm supposed to save, and then I'm going to check if email exists. So the reason I have to do all those modifications is because I need to check if the email exists. So I return false from here. Go down a little bit, and I'm wondering what the problem is here. Remove redundant parent. Oh, right. Okay, so this should fix it. So I'm checking if account number that was generated exists already. Return false if it does. If this exists, return false and say. So I think I might need to actually print out a more accurate error here because I don't want them to keep trying if that is the problem. So I can say user already exists, and so I don't need that. I don't need this here anymore. So let's now see how I can modify this to be more efficient. Firstly, let's save our data so I don't forget. So what we are going to be writing now would be this. Actually, I'm going to still convert it to a string so that I'm more certain this way. It's not necessary, but I'm doing it anyway. Alright, so final modification to my create folder before I end this one. I think it's getting a little long. I don't really like having long tutorials. Alright, so I'll come back here and see how we can modify this. Now we are trying to open a file or create a new one if it doesn't exist. File exists error means this file has been created before. So now I need to, if this error is thrown, I need to check if that file contains something. So that is where the read now comes in and check. Right, so my read would now check if this file here okay, so let's assign it to a variable. Does file contain data? I know I use very weird long names, but it's, you know, it's descriptive and it's easy for anyone to understand. What is this problem here? Missing closing that. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we're missing this. Oh, not that, this. Right, so where is this coming from? Okay, that fixed it. So we are trying to read the contents of the file that we already said exists. I don't know how it exists, but if the contents, so let's see what our read returns. Read returns actual content, or or just an error. I don't know what else is supposed to return. I think I should return a false. Return false. Of course, it shouldn't be there. So if does it contain an error? If it contains a data, then don't delete it. So if it doesn't contain data, so if not this, then go ahead and delete this particular file because it doesn't contain any data. It's probably just a redundant, a failed account creation. So go ahead and delete that file here. All right, so I think we are done with this. It's a little long, but it should be worth it because I think the thought process matters a lot. Thought process of seeing how somebody else who is familiar with the language tries to fix errors, and everybody runs into trouble. You have to make modifications along the way. you have to test as you code, and so on and so forth. So that's what I have here, and I'm just going to clean this out a little bit, remove all the warnings I have here. Okay, so let's test it out. Create file, we've already started testing that over there. Update would have to wait, and then delete is what we have here, which is fine. We have the does email exist here, and we have this here. So let's see what we can do in our login now. So what we need to do for login, we will not be doing all of this here. I mean, that's good, right? We can do it right here. We can do it right here. So in our next in the next video, I'm going to be dealing with the login function, and then we'll be done with this long series.